or reiterate my welcome to everybody after maybe what can be regarded as a slight summer recess. It's not a full summer recess because the County Council, like its members, keeps working throughout the summer. But it's nice to see everyone back in the chamber again, and an especially warm welcome to our 3 aldermen who are sitting in the gallery up there. It's very, very nice to see you here in attendance this morning. As before, now that we are all present, I must read the general announcements about the fire risks. So to remind you that if the fire alarm sounds, all members in the chamber and observers in the gallery are asked to make their way out of the building and go to the fire assembly point outside the Great Hall. And please, please, please do remember to switch off your mobile phones or at least put them on silent. Okay? And now we continue with the main body of the agenda, and the first item on the agenda today are the apologies for absence. And this morning we have Jo Weeks who's going to read those apologies for us. Jo.
Thank you, Chairman. Apologies have been received from Councillors Mike Ford, Steve Forster, Jonathan Glenn, Mark Kemp-G, Kim Taylor, Bill Withers, Keith House, Adam Jackman, and David Harrison, and also from Honorary Alderman Chris Carter and Patricia Banks.
Members, are there any more apologies that we are not aware of? Councillor Henderson?
I think Councillor Still will be delayed.
Councillor Elaine Still will be delayed, right? But as far as you know, she's on her way.
As far as I know, thank you.
Thank you. Any other apologies? Right, thank you. Item 2 on the agenda are the usual and standard declarations of interest. And again, members, I must remind you that all members who believe they have a disclosable pecuniary interest in any matter to be considered at the meeting must declare that interest, and having regard to Part 3, Paragraph 1.5 of the County Council Members' Code of Conduct, leave the meeting while the matter is discussed, save for exercising any right to speak in accordance with paragraph 1.6 of that code. Furthermore, all members with a personal interest in the matter being considered at the meeting should consider having regard to part 5, paragraph 4 of the code, whether such interest should be declared, and having regard to part 5, paragraph 5 of the code, consider whether it is appropriate to leave the meeting while the matter is discussed, save for exercising any right to speak in accordance with the code. So all members are aware of their responsibilities under the Code of Conduct this morning. Thank you very much. Item 3 on the agenda are the minutes of the previous meeting. Again, these have been circulated some time in advance. Everyone has had plenty of time to read those minutes and to draw any anomalies to our attention. But are there any anomalies that anyone wishes to raise or point out? So can I take the minutes as a true and accurate record of what was said and passed before the council at our last meeting? Right. Jo, can I sign the minute book, please? Item 4 on the agenda is a deputation. I'm able to confirm for you members that 1 deputation has been received this morning in accordance with Standing Order 12. The deputation, I understand, is to be given by Mr. Terry Owens and Mr. Richard Balchill regarding speeding vehicles on Cranmore Lane in Aldershot. And I believe the 2 gentlemen are sitting over there at the back. If you'd like to come forward, please. A very warm welcome to you. I expect you already know, but you have a maximum of 10 minutes to be shared between the two of you. All right, so whenever you're ready, please start.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing Terry and myself to present the petition and the presentation on behalf of the residents of Cranmore Lane and the adjoining roads in Aldershot. My name is Richard Balchin, and this is Terry Owens, who will be introducing himself in a few minutes. I will be giving an overview about the road, while Terry will be covering issues in more detail. We are here today to represent the overwhelming majority of residents, in fact 99.1%, who stated that speeding traffic in Cranmore Lane was an issue for them. The residents supported the installation of speed monitoring equipment in the road to obtain confirmation data, which we hope will then lead to the implementation of permanent speed control. I've lived in Cranmore Lane and nearby roads for over 33 years, and during that time I've witnessed increasing traffic volume and speeding. This is not a new situation, and I believe there have been at least 2 previous applications to the Council for traffic calming schemes. However, as will be detailed by Terry, these improvements have not slowed the traffic, and speeding vehicles have repeatedly crashed into residential walls, fences, central keep left islands and other vehicles. All the residents are concerned about further future collisions, injuries or deaths if nothing is done about this current situation. Cranmore Lane is in fact a residential B road, the B3008. However, it is used and has the volume of traffic of a major arterial A road, especially during the peak rush 2 hours at either end of the working day. It would appear that many drivers think that it is an A road with a higher speed limit. In fact, one of the residents pointed out that when using Google on her phone as a sat-nav, it incorrectly showed the speed limit of 40 miles an hour. It is suggested that new 30-mile-per-hour signs be provided on both the road surface as well as additional lamppost-mounted repeater signs to try and reinforce the limit and negate drivers' confusion or downright ignorance of its correct speed. This would also greatly help any future enforcement by Hampshire Police of the speed limit, which many years ago was regularly done and did act as a short-term deterrent. Despite being wide and relatively straight, Cranmore Lane has several features that add to the speeding issue to create potentially dangerous situations for both vehicles and pedestrians. The road undulates with a blind crest approximately halfway along its length. This causes particular visibility issues for the lower junction into Cranmore Gardens for emerging vehicles or crossing pedestrians. Likewise, the approach to the junction into Elverstoke Gardens is hard to see when descending down the road. It is suggested again that both these junctions could be more clearly identified by specific signing warning of their position to approaching vehicles travelling easterly or down Cranmore Lane. Some of the other side road junctions on the road are regularly made more hazardous by residents parking near to the junctions and or ignoring the double yellow lines. In particular, residents signing the petition commented on the upper junction of Cranmore Gardens regularly causing an issue due to parked vans and vehicles blocking the exit and or causing vehicles to drive on the wrong side of the road. It is suggested that double yellow lines on this junction, and all the junctions in fact, be extended or at least reviewed to ensure that they are both clear for both turning vehicles and pedestrians. Then, hopefully, the solitary traffic warden we believe that exists in Aldershot might come round and enforce it. Ironically, it would appear that Cranmore Lane has been designated an official cycle route for student residents of the major new housing development in Aldershot Town Centre, to use it to get to Farnham College. Well, currently, cyclists using Cranmore Lane and travelling uphill or westwards are regularly closely tailgated by motorists, who then often overtake them dangerously despite oncoming vehicles. They often also blatantly ignore the central keep left islands and overtake despite side junctions, emerging traffic, oncoming speeding traffic coming down the hill. The same thing also regularly happens to buses or other vehicles which are travelling at or below the actual 30-mile speed limit. It has also been suggested that the blue cycling sign indicating Aldershot Town Centre at the junction at the top of Cranmore Lane gives the impression to all road users that this is actually the main route into Aldershot. This, we believe, should be changed by having another new sign which clarifies or at least suggests that it isn't suitable for HGVs or through traffic to Aldershot. Finally, by coincidence, it would appear that Speed Indicator Device, or SID, application has been made for Cranmore Lane. Thank you for that. If the SID deployment to Cranmore Lane is approved, we would request that the data from it, which is collected, can be used as well as the additional data we hope to get from your approval today for speed monitoring. I'm now going to hand over to Terry. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Terry Owens, and I was born in Aldershot and lived in Aldershot all my life, which is currently almost 77 years, with 46 of those years living in Cranmore Lane. But the last 10 years have not been totally happy because the speed of the traffic is beyond the line of safety, resulting in many accidents and incidents, resulting in Cranmore Lane becoming a dangerous road. So I will now run you through some of the accidents and incidents. In or around the early 80s, a car outside my home somersaulted onto its roof, which led to someone dying, followed by court proceedings here in Winchester. On 2 other occasions in the 80s, my roadside garden wall was hit due to a speeding car losing control, which led me to removing the wall. Whilst doing the petition, many residents spoke of speed and their concerns, such as cars overtaking single-decker buses, cars overtaking other cars, sometimes on the wrong side of the reflector bollards, which, incidentally, have been replaced or repaired 19 times since 2013. Also, some of the residents are being dangerously overtaken whilst turning right into their own property. And perhaps due to the width of the road, many drivers may not realise that the speed limit is 30 miles per hour. Improved signage would reduce marginal speeding. For instance, there is only one worn-out 30 reminder sign painted on the road going down as you enter Cranmore Lane, with no 30 sign going up Cranmore Lane. Delivery lorries and vans use Cranmore Lane as the main way into town. Can you redirect this type of traffic to use the Tesco's route via the roundabout and Wellington Avenue, as the current town centre sign encourages traffic down Cranmore Lane? Continuing on with the crashes and incidents, we had a car crash into a neighbour's wall this year. Also, on the 1st of May 2021, we had a speeding car crash into a parked car which was on the opposite side of the road and ploughing through a neighbour's hedgerow, with the driver being badly injured and trapped because his driver's door was wedged against the tree. The fire brigade had to remove the roof and the passenger door to get the driver out and into the waiting ambulance. The police closed the road off for 2 hours. I attended the accident as it was close to my house because I heard the crunching of metal on metal. On another occasion, a speeding car lost control, mounted the pavement and then crashed into a lamppost and rolled over onto its roof. All these 3 serious accidents were photographed and are showing in the presentation report. So, how do we move forward onto the first stage of trying to reduce speed? Well, 435 residents resulted in 99.1% signing the petition, requested that speed monitoring equipment be temporarily installed in Cranmore Lane. The set of data obtained can then be used to justify what permanent speed controls should be implemented. And I've been led to believe that Rushmore Borough Council and Hampshire County Council have been liaising with the traffic and safety team to set up their speed indicator device scheme at 3 locations within Rushmore. And Cranmore Lane has been recommended as one of those locations. So please embrace this opportunity to make it happen, subject to Cranmore Lane winning the recommendation. As a polite reminder, several parents walking young children to school worry about speed and traffic, especially when crossing the road. And only on Monday, the 18th of September, an elderly lady crossing Cranmore Lane outside my home with her dog on a lead was dragged over by the dog, injuring her shoulder and face, and had to be taken to hospital. On speaking to her, I asked, how did it happen? Her reply was, a speeding car spooked the dog and made him pull very hard on his lead. Alas, the car never stopped as it continued speeding into the distance. Many other residents have complained about their dogs being spooked or become hyper whilst dog walking on the pavement due to the noise the speeding cars make, especially on the surface of the road, which, incidentally, I believe has never been resurfaced in the 46 years I have lived there. Thank you for giving me and Richard the opportunity to present our case, which we hope will result in a positive outcome. and we wish you all a safe journey home.
Thank you both very much indeed for that very detailed deputation. I just want to reassure you that this council does take such deputations very seriously, and I'm going to request that the executive member for Universal Services, together with officers, consider your deputation and provide you with a detailed response. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is item 5, which is the chairman's announcements. I do have a few short announcements to make, and I will start those announcements with awards or accolades which have recently been granted to Hampshire County Council staff. Sally Oat, who is Service Manager, Hampshire County Council Care, and Kerry Bean, who is the Assistant Head of County Council Care Services, Transformation and Business Lead, have both completed their Chartered Manager degrees. So I'm sure you will join with me in extending sincere congratulations to them, because I'm sure a great deal of hard work and burning the late night oil was involved in that. In addition, 30 adults from the Health and Care Colleagues team are eligible to receive their 25 years long service award, and one colleague is to receive a 40 years service award. And this event will take place next week in the Great Hall, which I'm sure you will agree will be a very special occasion for everybody involved. My diary as chairman continues to be very full, and amongst the many visits I have made recently was one to the New Forest and Hampshire County Show. Now, this took place at the end of July, and I spent a very informative day meeting and talking with businesses and artisans who had stalls at the show. I think we are very fortunate indeed to have such a wealth of knowledge, expertise, skill, and craftspeople in Hampshire. In mid-August, I visited the Hampshire Records Office, which, as most of you will know, is just opposite the Tower Street multi-storey car park. I have to report that it was a fascinating experience, and one which I would thoroughly recommend for any member, especially if you arrange your visit beforehand with the HRO, Hampshire Records Office, as they will then be able to put together artefacts and things of significant interest which are relevant to you, your division, and your residents. They will also take small groups on tour and give talks, but again, this must be arranged with them beforehand. Not only did I learn a great deal about the history and development of the county of Hampshire, but it helped me to understand how modern-day lifestyles and technologies will influence the historical records of the future. Late August, I visited a local Hampshire County Council care home to help celebrate their fundraising summer fete. Now, although the home was not one of our latest designs, it was filled with very happy residents, supported by very caring staff. All the families I spoke with spoke highly of the care levels provided, and I think it only right that we acknowledge and give thanks to the hard-working County Council staff who make this success possible. Earlier this month, in September, I visited the Hampshire Cultural Trust, which, if you don't know, is located in Chilcombe. They host an amazing array of Hampshire treasures, including a beautifully embroidered travel box, which was made in 1655 by a 6-year-old girl. I can't imagine that happening today. And something which is called a pelisse, P-E-L-I-S-S-E. A pelisse is a garment without buttons or buttonholes or zips. Now, that was handmade and worn by Jane Austen. So I was very thrilled to be able to see that because it's kept in special storage underneath in the vaults. But what really surprised me on that visit was the range of artisan workshops they encourage, which is so essential for sustaining rural skills, including a huge repair shop they have for steam-driven vehicles, such as trucks, engines, etc. I want to draw to your attention this morning, members, that they are always on the lookout for young volunteers who may want to train up as mechanical engineers and work in their steam shed. So this is yet another example of how Hampshire is working to sustain its heritage whilst offering support and job opportunities to young people. And now my next item is one of great sadness, I'm afraid. It is, we all noted the recent death of former County Councillor Jeff Hawley, who passed away recently. Now, many of you will know that Jeff represented the Fareham-Titchfield division from 25 to 2021. So I'm going to pause at this point in case any member would like to make any statement or speak in memory of Jeff. Sorry. Councillor Bryant.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd just like to rise to say how sad it was to hear of Jeff's passing. I had known him for about 35 years, mainly through his wife, because his wife was a great friend of mine and a colleague on Fareham Borough Council. But in the early days when I first knew Jeff, he was a very successful businessman. And in fact, he used to help his wife and I at the times when, I'm sure all of us in this chamber will know, when we used to have to cut and paste things to send out to our residents. And he had access to printing services and always got the best price for us. He will be sadly missed. His wife is doing extremely well. I was with her last evening, actually, and she's standing up, but he has been very, very poorly for some time, so it wasn't unexpected.
Thank you for those comments, Councillor Bryant. Councillor Burgess.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I knew Jeff for quite some time, initially through his wife Connie, when she was Mayor of Fareham, etc. Jeff was a character and could recount many stories from his time in Africa, and I believe he will be greatly missed. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Burgess. Councillor Pankhurst.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Just a quick message, really, that Jeff will be sorely missed. He was a great wealth of information and support to me when I joined Fareham Borough Council, and I took over from Jeff in 2021. It was quite a shock to hear, and I'm sending messages out to Connie and her family as well. Thank you.
Thank you for those kind words. Councillor Woodward.
Yes, thank you very much indeed, Madam Chairman, for the opportunity to make a few comments on Jeff. Jeff was a dear friend. He dealt with everybody in the same way, without fear or favour, and saw no consequence, I think, in some of his mannerisms towards some of us. But he was a dear friend, and he worked very, very hard for his residents and his community, and I know that in Titchfield he is deeply missed, and my thoughts and prayers, and I've shared them with Connie, his wife, and a great shame to have lost a good friend. I'm sure he'll be well and favourably remembered. He could be a grumpy old git, but he was our grumpy old git, and we liked him very much and supported him. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Woodward, and thank you for making everyone smile. Councillor Hare.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I didn't know Councillor Jeff Hawley very well, but when I was elected in 2017, he got in touch with me and said, I can take you to the council offices. You probably won't know it very well. So I said to him, yes. I'll take that opportunity to come with you. So he said, come to my house, which I did, and meet me there at 9 o'clock, so I did. And I was running late, as always I am. So I had done my makeup and got to his house, got in the car, took my nail polish with me because I hadn't done my nails, sat in the car. En route, I started painting my nails. And of course, with the smell of the nail polish, he must be wondering what I was up to, you know, whether I was... anyway, he was such a gentleman that he didn't actually have the nerve to ask me what I was up to, but he kept looking over. And I did say to him, I'm going to do my nails. Where he was slightly deaf, he didn't quite understand it. But when we arrived here, he's kind of smirked at me thinking, have you done your nails? And he will be missed. So I do pass my sympathies on to the family. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hare. That's a lovely little story to be able to remember Jeff by. Are there any further comments that wish to be made? Right. In that case, members, can I please ask you to stand for a moment's silence? Thank you very much, members. Please be seated. We now continue with the remainder of the agenda, and the next item is item 6, which is the Leaders' Report. Councillor Humby, can I invite you to present the report, please?
Only just, Madam Chairman. Thank you very much. Members, my thoughts and prayers are with all those affected by the catastrophic earthquake and flooding in Morocco and Libya, and you heard that this morning with reflection as well. I would like to thank and pay tribute to the 5 Hampshire firefighters who are among the specially trained UK search and rescue team deployed to Morocco by the Foreign Office to assist the emergency response on the ground. In relation to public buildings maintained by Hampshire County Council, we can confirm 2 known cases of reinforced autoclaved aerated concrete, also known as RAC. Cranbourne College in Basingstoke is the only school site under management where RAC has been identified. Temporary work has already been undertaken to one section of the building to make sure it is safe, and another area has been taken out of use since the beginning of the year. The school has reopened for the new academic year as normal. Following a detailed structural survey carried out on Wednesday the 6th of September, RAC has been confirmed with an area of Southam Community Library in Basingstoke in an area of the building that is owned by Hampshire County Council. The area is used by a community group, and we have notified them of the outcome of the survey. As a precautionary measure, we have instructed that the impacted areas are closed immediately and remain closed until appropriate mitigation measures have been implemented. Other areas of the building are owned by Basingstoke and Dean Borough Council, and we have notified them of the outcome of our investigation. The County Council is responsible for a very large estate, and we have a comprehensive inspection programme in place for all our buildings, including structural surveys by qualified engineers. Through these, RAC has not been identified elsewhere. However, we continue to monitor the position with RAC across our estate and would investigate and take appropriate action should there any other issues be identified. September has been an important month for the County Council's budget planning process. At the start of September, we published the findings of this summer's public consultation on Hampshire County Council's 2024-26 budget. I would like to thank the nearly 3,000 residents and stakeholders who responded with their views on how the County Council can deliver core public services while meeting our legal requirement to balance the budget every year. The consultation was clear that a range of options would be needed to deliver the £132 million worth of savings required to balance our budget by April 2025. These include reducing and changing some services, generating additional income and lobbying central government for legislative change. These views have helped to shape a range of saving proposals to close the £132 million budget gap by 2025-26. This month, individual Cabinet members have been considering proposals affecting their areas of responsibility. Recommendations will be brought before Cabinet in October before a final decision is made by us all at full council in November. Hampshire County Council has a strong track record of responsible financial management. The challenges we face are the same as local authorities across the country. High inflation, rising demand for social care services, and more than a decade of underfunding of local services by central government. As a result, council budgets are close to breaking point. I and others in the sector have warned ministers that this is an unsustainable situation. This month saw Birmingham City Council issue a Section 114 notice. If reports are to be believed, plenty of other councils will be forced to consider doing the same within the next year or two. Hampshire is in a better financial position than most other county councils. While our finances are stable until 2025-26, we need central government to fundamentally change the way that local services are funded, or reduce what councils are legally required to deliver. In our consultation this summer, the public made it clear that they expect the government to fund local services properly, something that I have been lobbying for since I became leader. And as we head towards 2025-26, I will continue to work closely with other county council leaders to set out a robust case for short-term assistance and long-term reform for local government funding. I am committed to keep standing up for Hampshire's residents and will campaign for as long as it takes to secure the change that local government desperately needs. And thinking about children's services, I would like to update members on the strategic partnership for children's services between Hampshire County Council and the Isle of Wight. After a decade of hard work and close collaboration between officers in both local authorities, children's services on the Isle of Wight are now in a secure position, having been judged as good across the board by Ofsted in their last full inspection. With the success achieved to date, coupled with growing demand and financial pressures for children's services in Hampshire and nationally, now is the right time for Hampshire to step away from the partnership and let the Isle of Wight take back full control of its children's services. Hampshire County Council and the Isle of Wight Council have agreed that the partnership will come to a close at the end of January. I'm very proud of all that has been achieved during the partnership with the Isle of Wight, and I wish to thank all colleagues on the island and in Hampshire for the skill and dedication that they have shown throughout the children and young people that they have worked so hard to support. On the issue of the LEPs, Local Enterprise Partnerships, I welcome the government's decisions that the upper tier local authorities in England will take on the core functions of the local enterprise partnerships, known as the LEPs, from April 2024. I would like to thank Hampshire's LEPs, Enterprise M3 and Solent LEP, for the valuable role they have played over the last decade in helping to drive investment, economic growth in Hampshire and bring together businesses, education and local authorities. With 2 lets within the county area, disaggregation of the existing arrangements is complex. It's very complex. The County Council is currently reviewing existing programmes and governance structures and using an evidence-based approach to determine the best outcomes for residents and businesses in Hampshire. This will inform a decision to Cabinet in October. I'm now actually very pleased that preparations for the first ever Hampshire Business Awards are continuing apace ahead of the award ceremony in Farnborough on the 30th of November. This will be a wonderful opportunity to showcase and celebrate outstanding businesses, individuals and partnerships that help make Hampshire such a great place. Now, you should have all heard this before, so I'll start you off. To live... Oh, sorry, Chairman, I did try, but I have to do it like that. I'll give it one more go. To live, work, play and visit. I think you should have all got that by now. To live... There you go, Chairman. We got there in the end. Excellent. Well done, members. Only 4 out of 10 I'll give you for that one, though. Nominations for the awards close tomorrow. I encourage all Hampshire businesses, from SMEs and startups to large and established firms, to take a look at the categories online and consider putting themselves forward. And I know we've already had hundreds of applications that come forward for those, so that's really encouraging. Thinking about now full council and the letters that we've been asked to send. I've received a reply from the schools minister to my letter on eligibility and funding for free school meals, which was the subject of a county council resolution in May. The minister responded that current free school meal provision is set at a level that enables the most disadvantaged children to benefit while remaining affordable and deliverable. However, he and the Department for Education officials are keeping the situation under review. Further to the resolutions passed by County Council in July, I have sent a letter to the Prime Minister on the subject of Gurkha veterans, pensions and other welfare issues. I've also written to all Hampshire MPs on the supply of vapes to young people and the environmental concerns of disposable vapes. With regard to the resolution on underage vaping, I can confirm that the school improvement officers from our education and inclusion team have worked closely with our public health team to produce appropriate messages that schools are asked to share with students, parents, carers, teachers as appropriate. This includes working together on a letter that was shared with all schools to send to all parents and carers in July. The work will continue and be refreshed this term. Trading Standards are also undertaking both reactive and proactive work to help prevent underage sales of vapes taking place, as well as tackling the availability of non-compliant vapes. Thanks to the additional financial support from colleagues in public health, the team now has a full-time senior Trading Standards officer in place to lead on underage sales work in the county and are currently looking to appoint another officer shortly. We already have officers visiting businesses to verify their control measures to prevent underage sales, such as training, signage and CCTV. Where weaknesses are identified and remain uncorrected, test purchases will be made in future, which could lead to formal action, including prosecution. We're sending out a clear and robust message that selling vapes to children in Hampshire is unacceptable and that the full extent of the law will be used as necessary to enforce any infringements. I am delighted that Hampshire County Council will pay an extra top-up of £200 a month from October until the end of March to all Hampshire residents hosting Ukrainian guests as part of the government's Home for Ukraine scheme. This means all Hampshire hosts will receive a monthly payment of £700 a month up to the end of March. We have seen a hugely positive response from local residents to the plight of the Ukrainian people over the course of the past 18 months. With all our county welcoming more than 1,600 families as part of the National Home for Ukraine scheme. The extra top-up payment will be funded entirely with the grant paid by government to upper-tier local authorities to support the implementation of Homes for Ukraine scheme locally. It is a thank you on behalf of the County Council to Hampshire hosts for their important contribution and generosity in opening their homes to Ukrainian families. It is also a recognition of the ongoing challenges that many hosts might face this winter in terms of the cost of living pressures. I hope that the top-up will allow Hampshire residents to continue hosting arrangements with Ukrainian citizens and encourage more people to consider becoming hosts. Our new recruitment campaign explains how the Homes Ukraine scheme works and features stories from current hosts on how rewarding their experience has been. I also welcome a recent upsurge in community donation drives to collect items to support families living in Ukraine. I encourage anyone who is interested in contributing to search out for a donation drive taking place in your area. Also, I would like to highlight that this week is National Inclusion Week, a time dedicated to celebrating inclusion and creating inclusive workplaces. Members will know that I take a strong interest in this subject. The more inclusive and diverse the County Council is as an employer, service provider and partner, the more effectively we will be able to work with and serve all communities in Hampshire. Since the theme of this year's National Inclusion Week is Take Action, Make Impact, I would like to thank everyone who has taken action to make the County Council an inclusive, diverse and welcoming organisation. I would particularly like to thank Councillor Kirsty North and Councillor Aaron Mullany, who are providing valuable leadership on this important agenda in their respective roles as Executive Member for Performance and Human Resource, Communications and Inclusion and Diversity, and as Member Champion for Inclusion and Diversity. Just one or two visits. I noted at the start of yours, Chairman, you said you had a few short. I have quite a few very long, so apologies for that. Over the summer, I was pleased to visit Manor Farm alongside Councillor Oppenheimer to view the impact that our Country Parks Transformation Programme has had on this well-loved farm attraction over the last couple of years. The programme's $750,000 investment in Manor Farm has enabled new facilities, such as an outdoor eating area and a large play barn. I went and had a play, Madam Chairman. Supported general landscaping and an improved footpath network, and created a bookable cabin for use by schools, birthday parties, and for local groups. Since these changes were made, visitor numbers have doubled to 140,000. And that is part of the Live, Work and Play, Madam Chairman. As you know, my family has been in Hampshire for 460 years. I said that last year, so now it's 460. Well done, we're getting there, Madam Chairman. They're on it now. Sorry? And we have a personal connection to Manor Farm. I was delighted to see how the County Council's transformation programme is helping Manor Farm and all our country parks go from strength to strength. Earlier this month, the Deputy Leader spoke at Southampton University's International Conference on Evolving Cities and Towns. The conference brought together leading academics, policymakers, regional and non-governmental organisations and the private sector to debate the transition to net zero carbon. Councillor Chad gave a keynote speech where she outlined the role of the County Council's New Hampshire 2050 Directorate in joining the dots between key strategic climate change activities taking place across the Council to maximise the co-benefits, and leading our partnership work with public bodies, businesses and communities on climate projects across Hampshire. To start a couple of bits of news, Madam Chairman. Finally, I would like to highlight that Tracy Nash and Dr James Cretney will be leaving their respective leadership roles at Hampshire Fair and Marwell Wildlife in the near future. In her 10 years as commercial manager at Hampshire Fair, Tracy has been a brilliant champion for the county's food and drink sector and played a major part in organising the award-winning Hampshire Food Festival. James has served as Chief Executive of Marwell Wildlife for 18 years, during which time Marwell Zoo has become one of Hampshire's largest, best-loved visitor attractions. The Marwell Wildlife Charity has also won prestigious national and regional awards for sustainable development and excellence as an employer. Tracy and James have worked tirelessly to put Hampshire on the map and help make the county a great place to live, oh God, this is hard work, play and visit. I warmly wish them both and all the best for the future. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I did try.
Thank you, Leader, for what I think everyone will agree is a most comprehensive report. I think it's particularly appreciated by members in the chamber today is the feedback on the resolutions which have previously been passed by members in this chamber. It's important that we do get that feedback, and that was especially informative for us. So thank you very much indeed for that. Members, now we go on to item 7 on the report, which is questions. I have to report to you that I have received a total of 13 questions today. Some people have submitted 1, 2 or 3 questions. So we will deal first with all the first questions, then we will go on to the second questions received, and then there will be the third questions received. As you will know, members, there is a time limit of 30 minutes. And when that time limit has expired, and if all questions have not been answered, they will be dealt with in accordance with Standing Order 16(1.5). That means that all members will receive a written response within 6 days of this meeting. So it will not exceed, the question period will not exceed a total of 30 minutes. So the first question we have received is from Councillor Jackie Porter to Councillor Nick Adams-King. Councillor Porter.
Good morning. The County Council is taking on-street parking in the Winchester district from the beginning of October. As the councillor for Alresford, with considerable amount of on-street parking, when will I be told exactly how this is going to work, and will on-street parking in the town remain free as it is now?
Councillor Adams-King.
Thank you, Councillor Porter, for that question. As you correctly stated, from the 1st of October, on-street parking enforcement in the Winchester district area will fall under the County Council's responsibility. All Winchester County members will be contacted over the next few days by officers to explain how the transition will happen, and please rest assured that every effort is being made to ensure that happens seamlessly. Members will also be made aware of who they should contact for any on-street parking related issues. You might remember when the other districts transferred in April, I also popped over an email, which I'll repeat again for the Winchester members, so they've got that more concurrently in their inboxes with all the details of what to do. As with all the other districts and borough council areas in Hampshire, day-to-day enforcement of on-street restrictions will be undertaken by the council's parking services contractor, NSL. They already work to establish practices, who already work to established practices and policies. All of the current on-street parking controls in Alresford will continue to be enforced by civil enforcement officers, with penalty charge notices issued to parked vehicles found to be contravening the existing waiting restrictions. Any new parking restrictions proposed for Alresford over time would be subject to local consultation, and this would include yourself as the local county councillor, as well as the usual traffic regulation order process. What I can tell you is that at the moment it's not appearing on a list for me. So I can reassure you that certainly for the foreseeable future there's no plan for that.
Thank you, Councillor Adams-King. Councillor Porter, do you wish to ask a supplementary?
A very simple one. The spaces are marked out and the lines have faded, so the public can't see exactly where they can park, and it means that it's not as efficient and effective as it could be. Could you just get the white lines repainted, please?
Councillor Adams-King.
Wrong side, sorry. Happy to do that. Could Councillor Porter do me a favour, pop the request into the general section of the website so that we register it, and we therefore, once you've got a reference number, let me have it and we'll chase it through.
Thank you. The second question is from Councillor Henderson to the leader, who is also the executive member for 2015 Corporate Services. Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Can you provide an update on how closely Hampshire County Council are working with Basingstoke and Deane Borough Council to bring forward Many Down?
Councillor Humby.
Chairman, thank you, and thank you for the question. The County Council continues to work closely with Basingstoke and Deane Borough Council to bring forward the Many Down development, recognising that both councils are joint holders of the leasehold of the Many Down estate land from the Many Down Company. Members will be aware that a jointly funded project team has been in operation for a number of years, alongside a formal joint venture agreement between the County Council and Basingstoke and Deane, providing the overarching governance to progress the development.
Councillor Henderson, do you have a supplementary? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, my supplementary would be, could you confirm a time frame for the commencement of the development of Many Down North?
Councillor Humby.
Madam Chairman, thank you. I think it would be too early at this stage in terms of where we are, where the County Council is in discussions with commercially sensitive, as you can imagine, discussions over the company regarding the freehold of the purchase of the land. So, but I think what would be critical is the next step to that and the outcome of those discussions. And then what would happen then, obviously, that would be in development in accordance with the planning consent that was granted in 2021. So that is the key thing. But what I will assure you and other members that we will keep you fully briefed and up to date as those discussions progress. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Question 3 is a question from Councillor Keith House, who is not here this morning. So I plan on arranging for a written response to be given to his question, which of course will be circulated to all members in the chamber. That question is directed to the lead member for Universal Services. That takes us on to question 4. Councillor Mumma-Lemony to Councillor Oppenheimer. Your question, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Leader kindly answered this question. So with your permission, Madam Chair, I can put my supplementary to Councillor Oppenheimer. Is it okay, ma'am? Yes.
Please proceed.
Yeah. Thank you, Councillor Oppenheimer. Here, given that the West Side Community Centre is co-owned by HCC and BDBC, could the portfolio holder please share their intentions regarding the repair of this facility? Furthermore, considering the expenses incurred by organizations displaced due to the center's closure, could the executive member agree that moral obligation to aid these organizations? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Oppenheimer, this is the supplementary question that's being put to you now. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Councillor Mumma-Lemony, for that question. So in response, Hampshire County Council is currently undertaking a detailed structural survey of our half of the building, the West Side Community Centre. This is almost complete, but is complicated by asbestos also being in the building. We are in regular discussions with officers at Basingstoke and Deane to share our findings, and once complete, this will enable us to confirm any detailed repairs required. In terms of the support we're providing to mitigate the impact on services, we are working closely with the Community Association and the Borough Council to assist with temporary solutions for provision of services whilst the building remains closed. In most cases, these are services that will run from the borough's half of the building. We're also working to assist with the installation of a container on our car park this week as a temporary solution for the food pantry run by the Community Association. And just to summarise, the County Council is responsible for a large estate, and we have a comprehensive inspection programme in place for all our buildings, including structural surveys by qualified engineers. We continue to monitor the position with RAC across our estate, and we will investigate and take appropriate action should any issues be identified. And finally, I'd make the point that Hampshire County Council's diligence and efficiency when it comes to building inspection and maintenance is likely to be a key part of the reason that Hampshire has no schools closed at the moment, whilst other counties have up to 10 or more schools closed due to RAC.
Thank you, Councillor Oppenheimer. I'm just confirming with Councillor Mullin that that was indeed your supplementary. Thank you. That takes us on to question 5. Councillor Crawford, I believe you have a question.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have seen over the past 12 months extreme weather events, both within the UK and across the world, such as flooding, coastal erosion, and record-breaking temperatures. Acknowledging that the Council declared a climate emergency in 2019 and developed a climate emergency strategy, please can you advise on the progress that the Council has made in delivering against its climate commitments?
Thank you. Councillor Chad, would you please respond?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Councillor Crawford, for your question. As you quite rightly say, the County Council has a robust climate change strategy, and this has been in place since 2020, which articulated the County Council's important role alongside our partners in responding to the climate crisis. Progress against this strategy is reported annually through the annual climate change report, including a range of reportable measures. The latest report will go to Cabinet in December later this year, as well as to the Select Committee in November.
Thank you, Councillor Chad. Councillor Crawford, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, Madam Chairman. I look forward to seeing the Cabinet report about that. But we've had a lot of developments in the last week. Please, can we have an assessment of how recent government policy changes and decisions will affect Hampshire's delivery against its climate commitments?
Councillor Chad, do you wish to respond?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Alex, Councillor Crawford, for your supplementary. Yes, absolutely. That will all come out in the climate change report at the Select Committee and at the full Council, at the Cabinet meeting, I apologise, later on in the year, where we can have a really robust discussion on where Hampshire is with it.
Thank you. That takes us to question 6, a question from Councillor Tree. Councillor Tree.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My question is, does Hampshire County Council have a statutory duty as waste disposal authority to receive recyclable wastes from the district and borough councils in our area that are waste collection authorities or not? Thank you. And that's to Councillor Nick Adams-King as Executive Member for Universal Services.
Yes,
Thank
if you would respond, please, Councillor Adams-King.
Thank you, Councillor Tree, for your question. As the Waste Disposal Authority, the County Council has a duty to arrange for the disposal of the controlled waste collected in its area by the waste collection authorities, and this includes recycling collected at the curbside. The County Council may direct the waste collection authorities to the places where this is to be deposited and ensure that it is delivered in such a way as to enable the County Council to comply with legislation which includes to be able to recycle the material presented. Waste collection authorities have powers to ensure that the material collected complies with the relevant specifications and can take steps to enforce this where a resident where a resident fails to do so. This would include where a resident has contaminated their recycling bin with non-recyclable waste to avoid that material entering the recycling system, leading to lower quality material and significant additional cost. At present, over a fifth of all the material presented to the County Council for recycling is not recyclable and requires additional haulage and processing costing over 1.5 million per year. The County Council is keen to work with the districts and boroughs to support them in improving the quality of the material that they deliver. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Councillor Adams-King. Councillor Tree, do you wish to ask a supplementary?
I have no supplementary question at this time. Thank you. Thank you for your answer.
Thank you very much. We move on to question 7 now, which is a question from Councillor Martin Todd.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. My question is to Councillor North, which is how many days per week are council officers required to be in the office?
Councillor North, please respond.
Thank you very much, Chairman. Thank you for your question, Councillor Todd. Our open workplace policy allows senior managers to authorise their staff to work from council premises, home or other suitable alternative locations, depending on the nature of the role that the person undertakes. The amount of time that an employee can work at any location will depend on their role and the nature of the tasks that they're responsible for performing. It's the senior manager's job to define how much flexibility can be afforded. Typically, for staff whose work is based in one of our offices, we would expect their tasks to necessitate them attending the office at least once a week.
Councillor North. Councillor Todd, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, I do, Madam Chairman. So 1 day a week. The private sector and many parts of the public sector are increasingly realising that 1 day a week isn't enough for sufficient teamwork and collaboration, and especially for training and onboarding new staff members. Of course, there can be occasional exemptions, but there is an increasing move back to the office. Why does Councillor North think the County Council has got the balance right and the private sector has got it wrong?
Councillor North.
Thank you for your supplementary question. The productivity of our staff is monitored by senior managers, and it will be for them to determine whether the location at which someone's working is causing a downturn in productivity or not. So as long as productivity rate remains the same, then the location can continue to be flexible.
Thank you very much, Councillor North. Members, that concludes our first questions. We now go on to our second questions. The second question received is from Councillor Porter. Councillor Porter, I believe you want to put this question to Councillor Forster, who is unfortunately not able to be here today, but I believe Councillor Heron is prepared to answer on his behalf.
Thank you.
Councillor Porter.
So my question is, how many children were refused a school bus pass on appeal in the 2022-23 school year?
Sorry, Councillor Heron.
Thank you, Chairman. Councillor Porter, an appeal is usually made against the decision to refuse school transport assistance. So that's at the stage before the method of transport, whether that's a bus pass, taxi or minibus, has been determined. Therefore, the figure I'm giving you is for all appeals against the decision around provision of transport assistance recorded in 22-23. There were 67 appeals, of which 32 were unsuccessful. Therefore, the refusal to provide transport was upheld.
Thank you, Councillor Heron. Councillor Porter, do you have a supplementary?
Thank you. Yes, I do. What is the delay time between the first refusal and the final appeal decision? So how many days after the refusal is the appeal considered?
Councillor Heron.
Councillor Porter, I'm afraid I don't have that figure, but I'm sure that I'll be happy to write to you with it.
Question number 9 is from Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. This is with respect to the service strategy and business model with the capital investment strategy that supports the service direction outlined in Cabinet paper of the 18th of July. Please would you outline how it's proposed to future-proof Hampshire County Council Care's older adult service portfolio?
Thank you, Councillor Crawford. Councillor Fairhurst.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you for your question, Councillor Crawford. The investment proposals for HCC Care's older adult service portfolio aim to ensure that the homes from which we directly provide care are fit for the future and thus very attractive to potential service users, their families and their representatives, as well as being attractive for our workforce, helping with important retention and recruitment efforts. Having attractive, fit-for-the-future care facilities is essential given that people with care needs have choice and can choose between HCC Care and the private sector when it comes to having their care needs best met. Increasingly, we are seeing some of our homes proving to be less attractive, leaving us with unoccupied beds, poor value for money, and homes that are just not cost-effective to invest in. We are proposing to increasingly focus our future older adult care services on people with complex needs, including dementia care, which is set to be the fastest growing service demand need and for which we are poorly equipped. Alongside our investment proposals, which include new builds, major refurbishments and closures, we will continue to offer short-term recovery and re-enablement services at 4 of our sites, supporting mainly older people who are not well enough to immediately return home following a hospital stay. This service helps to recover people's independence and also plays an important role in helping to improve hospital flow, thus reducing the pressure on the different acute hospitals that serve Hampshire residents. The combination of our proposed investment of focusing our services on nursing care, complex dementia care, and on short-term services makes our portfolio fit for the future and attractive to service users and staff alike, all linked to best ensuring that the HCC Care service for older adults is future-proofed.
Thank you, Councillor Fairhurst. Councillor Crawford, do you wish to ask supplementary?
I do, Madam Chair. Thank you. Thank you very much for the very full response. But how much does the success of this service strategy and business model depend on the government increasing the level of its funding in the future?
Councillor Fairhurst.
Sorry, Madam Chairman. Councillor, I don't think it does depend. Much as we would welcome improved investment from the government, this strategy does not depend on it and hasn't taken this into account in what we're planning to do.
Excuse me. Thank you, Councillor Fairhurst. Councillor Tree.
Thank you again, Madam Chairman. My question to Councillor Adams-King again is, please can you confirm how much of the £2 million of windfall funding from S106 contributions generated by the Whitehall and Borden area will be used to reimburse Hampshire County Council for the A325 Relief Road, if any, and how much will be available to spend on local public transport following the Transport Strategy Review currently being undertaken by Hampshire County Council? Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Adams-King.
Me again. Thanks for the other question, Councillor Tree. No decision has been made on how the windfall funding will be used. In line with the terms of the windfall payment, HCC is reviewing the local transport strategy and, as per the terms, will consult with the Whitehall and Borden Regeneration Company on how the windfall funding will be used to deliver transport measures. The strategy review will consider what investments may be needed in public transport, but it will also consider the other demands. In the end, the strategy will propose to deliver the measures which offer the highest value for money and best overall benefit to the residents of Whitehall and Borden. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Adams-King. Councillor Tree, do you wish to ask a supplementary?
I do, thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you for that answer. Could I just ask what the proposed timescale is, given that Whitehill and Borden Regeneration Company did submit a public transport proposal to Hampshire County Council in January of this year, and it's now September, and nothing has progressed with that? What is the timescale to fully understanding what funds could be available for public transport in the area from that S106 money? Thank you.
Councillor Adams-King.
Thank you. I'll have to get back to you with the timescale itself. What I do know, I think, is if we're talking about the same thing, that the proposal that was put forward in January didn't quite meet the criteria from my memory of what was happening, and that was fed back to the regeneration company at the time. In terms of where we're going with this, I think there is the challenge of providing public transport that actually is of use to people as the development and the town is built out, and therefore we need a critical mass of users to be able to use it and to make sure that it's sustainable in that respect. But what I will do is come back to you with some more detail about that once I've spoken to officers.
Thank you, Councillor. We're now on question 11. That's a question from Councillor Henderson to Councillor Oppenheimer. Councillor Henderson.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. How much progress has been made in building effective partnerships under the Hampshire Forest Partnerships, and how many trees have been planted so far?
Councillor Oppenheimer.
Thank you, Chairman, and I'd like to thank Councillor Henderson for that question. I'm pleased to report that the Hampshire Forest Partnership has made considerable progress in its first year of existence in terms of building effective partnerships. We're already working closely with over 35 bodies, such as the Woodland Trust and the Tree Council, in addition to a wide number of district councils and parish councils from right across the county. We aim to continue to grow our partnerships to deliver our aims and have secured an additional £180,000 in grants through the work of the Hampshire Forest Partnership. What this means is that we're getting great value for ratepayers because we're having a big impact without spending a lot of money. In terms of tree planting numbers, during the first planting season, November to March 22 to 23, the Hampshire Forest Partnership worked with partners to plant around 10,000 trees. We completed 10 projects on land not owned by the County Council and an additional 6 projects within the County Council estate. The partnership also worked with several parish councils to deliver community tree planting projects. New orchards were planted at adult services sites and Hampshire Library Service, and we also planted trees at libraries to support their green infrastructure improvement programme. Both services are looking to do more this year. During October, the Hampshire Forest Partnership is aiming to launch a Hampshire Tree Tracker app to enable communities, residents and staff to input all their trees planted across Hampshire, which will help provide a more accurate figure on the number of trees planted in the future. The Hampshire Forest Partnership website has loads more information about the progress so far and about the busy planting months ahead. We all know that trees are vital for climate change and nature recovery. Trees also have a positive impact on flood alleviation, air quality, placemaking and mental health. We will keep building our partnership, and we have our sights firmly set on our target of 1 million trees by 2050.
Thank you very much, Councillor Oppenheimer. Councillor Henderson, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. Thank you very much, Councillor Oppenheimer. That's very encouraging. I would like to thank you for joining me in the Overton Walking Group a few months ago and keeping up a steady pace. Would you agree that the tree warden system that they've adopted, whereby people adopt young trees and nurture them, is a good one? And could we promote this further?
Councillor Oppenheimer.
Thank you. I was very impressed by the Overton walkers who go around on their walks and just check on trees. It's not a very difficult thing to do. Just see, do they look like they need a drink of water or pull some ivy off? So it was very useful to see that. We definitely want to encourage people to be official and unofficial tree wardens. We've just launched the Young Tree Growers Guide, so we want to get kids involved. But certainly, the walking community has a big role to play. I do wish you'd warned me that I should get into training before coming to Overton, because even though they're all in their 70s, they go on a 2-hour march around the countryside, about 8 kilometres, It took me a week to recover. I don't know how they do it, to be honest. We need a Netflix documentary about them to try and get to the cause of it. But yeah, it was a great day out, and I hope that they'll continue to play their part in keeping our trees healthy.
Thank you very much, Councillor Oppenheimer. Question 12, Councillor Todd to
Thank you, Madam
Councillor
Chairman.
Adams-King.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. How do recent Prime Ministerial and DEFRA announcements affect the timing and financial arrangements for improved recycling in Hampshire?
Sorry, Councillor Adams-King.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The announcement by the Prime Minister to scrap burdensome recycling and the need for 7 bins is a shift away from DEFRA's previously stated preferred recycling collection system of curbside sort, where all materials are separated by the householder. I think we should be clear that none of us were ever suggesting 7 bins. This was never the proposal in Hampshire, with the district and boroughs clear that they did not think it was feasible to operate this type of collection system. The subsequent announcement by DEFRA that the Minister, Therese Coffey, will shortly launch a new, simpler recycling scheme is in essence only a name change from the previous consistency in recycling. DEFRA's announcement confirms that all English local authorities will be required to collect the same materials, such as those set out in the Environment Act 2021, but without the requirement to separate all of the different materials. This, therefore, still means that there is need to upgrade from our existing facilities to accommodate the wider range of materials, and still a need for the County Council to rebalance the historic and discretionary financial arrangements that are currently in place. It is my hope, and as I am sure it is for all the Hampshire local authorities, that the Minister launches the new scheme as soon as possible to enable all of us to plan with certainty and clarity on the changes that will be required. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you to Councillor Adams-King. Councillor Todd, is there a supplementary?
Yes, Madam Chairman. EPR funding has been delayed. What effect does that have?
Adams-King.
It makes our conversations about waste so much more tricky. If we could have certainty around EPR for the districts and boroughs, and remember, EPR is designed to be given to the collection authorities, and if we could have some certainty for all of the districts and boroughs about new burdens funding for the cost of providing additional bins and additional staff to run their new systems, that would be simpler for us all, and we'd have a much easier conversation. And until such time as we have that, then whatever conversations we have, I recognise are going to be that much more difficult.
Thank you. Members, you will notice we've got about 1 minute and 21 seconds left. If we're quick, we can just squeeze in the third question, which is one question from Councillor Porter to Councillor Steve Forster, which I believe Councillor Heron will take. Councillor Porter.
Thank you, and thank you for taking the question, Councillor Heron. Of the 13,000 children who use school transport provided by Hampshire County Council, how many had not received bus passes or exact confirmation of their travel arrangements by August the 31st, which is just a few days before returning to school?
Councillor Heron.
Chairman, thank you. Can I just first by say it's 13,500 now. Look, we do not hold the information for specific dates, so unfortunately I can't give you the information that you've requested sort of as of the 31st of August. The school transport service are aware of some issues where bus passes were issued late, involving some larger bus arrangements. Some companies that provide large buses withdrew from the contracts or did not retender over the summer commissioning period. This affected some children at the Henry Beaufort School, King's School and Henry Court, although not all buses into these schools were affected. In all cases, the transport was secured in time for the start of term, but the late nature of the solution meant that not all children received their bus passes before the term started. The bus companies were instructed to waive the requirement for children to show an actual bus pass for the first 2 weeks of term, which meant that no child on these routes was left without transport.
Very much, Councillor Heron. Councillor Porter, do you have a supplementary?
Yes, thank you, and thank you for that answer. And I'm aware that Hampshire County Council is going to do something to improve on this performance for children for 2024. But could we give schools some confidence that they will also have a better link to the school transport service in that year too, please?
Councillor Heron.
Councillor Porter, thank you for that supplementary. I first of all, it's important to say, because you nodded when I said 13,500 children. That actually represents just about 5 million journeys in an academic year. There were some challenges this year, and I've already touched on those regarding those specific calls, but there really were challenges for our school transport team. I think members are aware of the pressure that school transport is under. Just over £50 million cost this year, predictably just under a £60 million cost next year. This is not a sustainable position to be with. I do want to pay tribute to our school transport team, because of those 13,500 children, less than 2% experience some issues. So it really is, and it was incredibly challenging with companies handing back contracts really at the very last minute. And I do just want to take this opportunity, while I think we did actually do an excellent job overall, I do recognise the distress and disruption that waiting for transport might do to any parent and any child who's waiting. So I do want to just take this opportunity to apologise to those small number of our service users that were affected. At the same time, say thank you to our team for working so hard to resolve these issues. Yes, of course, we will be looking at some lessons learned. And Councillor Porter, I think we're going to have to do that, because I don't, unfortunately, see not only the cost issue changing, but actually the challenging of basically what is a dysfunctional marketplace, whether that's around providers of drivers or vehicles, or whether that's around transport assistance. And again, I think, members, I would just reiterate that unfortunately school transport is a system that was in many decades out of date in what government requires us to do, and they really do need to look at this one again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Heron. I can fully concord with the comments that you've just made about the transport system does need to be reviewed by central government. Well, may I thank you, the members in this chamber today, because you have managed to keep the questions short and succinct, and that is much appreciated. And as a result, we've managed to get through 12 of the 13 questions, and the other one you will all receive a written response. So we now proceed to part 1 of the agenda, which is matters for decision, item 8. This is on proportionality and appointments. Now, this report, members, you will know, was published after the main agenda and is being considered today as an urgent item due to the need for the Council to approve its proportionality table and to make the necessary appointments required. This will be recorded in the minutes, and you will find the report as a supplementary document in your main agenda papers. I'd like to ask the leader now to introduce the report. Councillor Humby.
Chairman, thank you. As members will be aware, the Council is required to review the proportionality table at such times as the political composition of the County Council changes. The draft table before you is a result of full consultation with all group leaders. The appointments that are proposed take into account changes in the draft table together with some additional changes. I move the recommendations, Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Right, would you please indicate whether there are any questions? Councillor Collett.
Chairman, mine's a comment rather than a question.
Please proceed.
Thank you. I just wanted to, in confirming the various changes here to Liberal Democrat members of different committees and so on, it would be wrong if I didn't, in passing, welcome Councillor Baines to the Liberal Democrat group. It's great to have him on board. He's now in his natural home, and we look forward to working with him over many years to come. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Councillor Collett. Are there any questions? Are there any discussions? Any discussions to be made? No? Right. We must turn to the recommendations on page 3 of the report. I believe there is one recommendation that the County Council approve the draft proportionality table and the appointments set out therein. Are we agreed? Thank you very much. That takes us on to item 9. And again, I'm going to ask the leader to present the report. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, thank you. The report before you is seeking approval of the mid-term review of the Serving Hampshire Plan 2021 to 2025. This review ensures that the strategic outcomes, priorities and principles remain relevant for the remaining term, and there is alignment with the priorities within the revalidated Hampshire 2050 vision. The revalidated Hampshire 2050 vision has been approved by Cabinet and is before you alongside the strategic plan for information. I move the recommendations, Madam Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, the leader. Members, are there any questions that you wish to raise? Are there any discussion, debate to be had? All right. No, thank you. Right, I'll now ask you to turn to the recommendations A and B on page 18 and to vote whether or not, and indicate whether or not you confirm the recommendations. Are you agreed? Agreed. Thank you, members. We're going on now to item 10, the Hampshire Youth Justice Service Youth Justice Plan, and I'm going to invite Councillor Heron to present the report this morning.
Chairman, thank you. The purpose of the Youth Justice Service is to work with children to support them in preventing offending and reoffending. It achieves this through its statutory partnership with partner agencies, including the police, health and probation. The Crime and Disorder Act 1998 requires these partnerships to be hosted by the local authority and sets out the need for a youth justice plan. The plan contains an overview of the Child First principles, which govern the service's work, the service's priorities and delivery plan, and an overview of the current finance and performance levels. Having considered the Youth Justice Service Plan 23-24 at my decision day, following a really interesting discussion and pre-scrutiny at the Select Committee earlier that day, I am happy to present the plan to Council for approval. Chairman, I move the recommendation.
Thank you, Councillor Heron. Are there questions for Councillor Heron? What's the name of the one person who's got her hand up? Sorry? Sorry?
Councillor Porter would like to make a comment.
Right, okay, all right, yes. First of all, invite Councillor Porter. You wish to make a comment or a question? Right. You make your comment first, and then I will go to Councillor Parker-Jones.
Okay.
Councillor Porter.
Thank you. And bearing in mind, this is actually the Youth Justice Plan for 23-24, so they have already started on this. And there were some aspects of it which we explored at the Select Committee, which I thought were really useful. And it was really encouraging to see the word justice rather than offending in the title this year for the first time. And I think we all felt that that was not just part of the wording here, but also the way in which we wish to decriminalise the role of children in which they find themselves. The one thing that is really striking is the success of the diversionary activities. And my own concern of that, and that of my party, is really that it's a shame that they happen only when young people are at risk of offending or coming into the justice system, and how we used to have a youth service that was so universal, that got to more children than the diversionary services, because the diversionary services are definitely working and definitely having a huge impact on children. So I just wanted to make the comment that it would be great if it was wider, but it actually is very much appreciated, and the progress of this report, I think, shows really how we have made a huge amount of change in the last 10 years towards how we treat children in this country.
Thank you very much, Councillor Porter. Councillor Parker-Jones.
Thank you very much. I was going to say, actually, that it's wonderful that we should be accepting this report, and we should be doing all we possibly can to divert our young people away from the criminal justice system as early as possible. So I won't reiterate what Councillor Porter said, because I'd love to see earlier intervention. However, there was just one small, tiny thing, which was on page 54. It says there are 2 routes for a child to gain access. The first is direct referral from other agencies, and the second, and that's where the sentence stops. So I was just hoping we could have that clarified. But I am really supportive of this, and it's wonderful to know that our young people are being supported, and our children, because they are our future. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed for your question. I think at this point I'm going to ask the Director, who is Stuart Ashley, if he would be able to respond to that part of the question. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. And it's a very good spot, and I'll make sure I address it and circulate to Council. Thank you.
Councillor O'Hara, I assume you didn't wish to make comment, right? Councillor Donnelly, next, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I just want to pull out one particular figure in this report, which is that the reoffending rate for young people once they have had this intervention is 6.8%, which is quite incredible. If you visit any of our prisons, the recidivism rate is usually about 70 to 75%. So I think that speaks to the effectiveness. And also, I know certainly in my own division in Andover, we have fantastic third sector organisations such as Yellow Brick Road, Purple Oak, who do extra work to work with young people and to divert them and to also support them once they have been through the youth justice process. And I know that that takes place right across the county, and I hope that members can support such organisations where they're able. Thank you.
I'm not sure there was a question in there, but thank you very much.
Would the council agree with that statement?
Councillor O'Hara, I assume you would wish to stand and say yes. Yeah.
Chairman, yes, thank you. And I just say that can I just welcome the comments and the questions that have been made, because I think it was a very useful discussion in the Select Committee. I think it really did come out how important it is to try and prevent reoffending and to revert that slippery slope into a record and criminality, not only for the impact of people's lives, but actually really for society's impact, because this is equally about victims as it is about working offenders. And you know, whilst it's working to restore and restorative justice for victims, actually, if you stop reoffending, you stop victims. So thank you for the comments.
Thank you. Councillor Collett, I assume it's a question. Right. Are there any questions? Right. No more questions. We'll now go on to debate. Right. Councillor Collett.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd really want to speak in support of the comments that Councillor Porter made about the other side of this, the youth service that we used to have. Anyone who knows me knows that I spent many, many years on Hampshire Police Authority. And if you look at the crime and antisocial behaviour statistics for around the years 2008 to 2012, you'll notice that there was a dramatic drop 3 years in a row. And it was a dramatic drop. The antisocial behaviour and low-level crime was really falling. And this was because 2 things coincided. One was the County Council had a very effective youth service that was comprehensive, covering the whole of the county, with our own youth workers engaging with young people positively. And the other was that the constabulary, through the work of the police authority working with them, had recruited civilian backup staff into all our police stations and buildings around the county doing the paperwork and so on that meant our police officers could be out on the streets and doing the things in the community that needed doing. I'm sad that many of those civilian staff have gone and have not been replaced, which is why we don't see as many police officers out on the streets as we would like. But those police officers and PCSOs and our youth workers engaging with young people were able to help to positively steer them through that transition from childhood to adulthood and avoid falling into the traps that lead into antisocial behaviour and low-level crime and later on develop into higher-level crime in some cases. So, Chairman, very much support the Youth Justice Service Youth Justice Plan, and very much commend the point made by Councillor Porter on the naming. But it would be so good if one day we can get back to having a comprehensive youth service. I think it's one of the things that I most regret the County Council walking away from in recent years. And if the constabulary could get back those civilian staff so our police officers are actually out on the street doing the work that we all want them to do, then I think we could really make some progress to the benefit of everyone in our community. Thank you, Chair.
Is there any more debate from anyone? Right, in which case, Councillor Heron, do you want to make any final comment?
Chairman, I do. I just want to just comment slightly on Councillor Collett's thing here, in that we are in a time when resource has to be targeted at where it is most effective. And whilst I welcome this report, and I'm really pleased, please don't think that that is the only work that the County Council is doing to support our vulnerable young people who might be at risk of exploiting, for example, for our Willow team, or through working with families who are experiencing challenges through our Supporting Families programme. So whilst this is an important plank in this, and I do recognise Councillor Collett's thing, I do think perhaps that the days of universal provision for those who needed it and those who didn't, for those who perhaps could afford for it themselves and those who couldn't, are gone. And now, through more targeted intervention, I think perhaps we're getting the resource at those who really need it. So thank you for everyone for their support.
Thank you, Councillor Heron. I know the leader wishes to say a few words. Councillor Humby.
Chairman, yeah, thank you. I'm just looking at this, some information that I had, and I will get some further information, Councillor Collett and Councillor Porter. But the DCMS announced that the next phase of the Million Hours Fund is open to applications on the 24th of November. You might know that. And it is to create more than 1 million additional hours of youth centre provision in areas with high numbers of antisocial behaviour incidents. So in Hampshire, only projects based in the falling walls, and they do give a list of that, and we'll make sure that information does get shared. But I thought it was useful as part of this debate just to make you aware of that, and we'll get further information. Thank you.
Right, thank you, members. You've had your opportunity to ask questions and debate. Can I now ask you to turn to the recommendation on page 47, and that is to approve the recommendation of the Executive Lead Member for Children's Services regarding the sign-off of the annual Youth Justice Plan. Are you agreed? Agreed. Thank you very much. We now go to item 11 on the agenda, which is a notice of motion. I believe, Councillor Todd, you have put forward this motion this morning. Is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chairman.
May I ask if you've got a seconder?
Yes, it's Councillor Groves.
Thank you. In which case, would you like to present your motion and remind you you've got a 5-minute slot?
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you to everyone on all sides of the chamber who has contacted me since I put this motion in to express support for the proposals that it lays out. As some of you may know, I was until recently Chief Executive of a men's health charity, the Men's Health Forum. And as such, I've been working with Prostate Cancer UK on this campaign for sanitary bins in men's toilets, and have had the opportunity to meet Hampshire residents who desperately need this support. It's tackling a problem that particularly affects many of the men who have had treatment for prostate cancer, but prostate cancer is by no means the only condition which causes these issues. The use of sanitary products by men is one of those challenges that most of us don't think about until it happens to us or to somebody we care about. It's an invisible problem. It's an embarrassing problem. But as soon as we do learn about it, it's almost shocking how simple it is for us as a council to help make a difference. It may be a small change that this motion is asking for, but for some people, it will make a really big difference. I could give you a set of statistics at this point, repeating the case laid out in the motion, highlighting the increasing numbers of men suffering from conditions that require them to use hygiene products. Talking through the Prostate Cancer UK survey results, showing the challenges this leads to for men's well-being and mental health. The anxiety, stress and embarrassment that men can feel about having to deal with incontinence and other sanitary products when proper facilities aren't available. And the practical considerations of the very low cost of change and the potential savings from not having to clear toilets blocked with non-flushable products. But ultimately, this isn't about statistics. It's about people and the experience that they have as a Hampshire resident, visitor or employee. Men who suffer from these problems talk about the worry of not having ready access to appropriate toilet facilities, the lack of discretion and privacy, the anxiety they feel about others being aware of odour and leakage, the embarrassment and occasional humiliation of having to ask to use disabled facilities or carry used products with them, the sense of isolation that comes from feeling trapped and less able to leave their home. The leader likes to refer to Hampshire being a great place for people to live, work, play and visit. And that's also not just a numbers game, and I know he also believes this. It's about ensuring that all our residents and visitors and people who work here find our county a great place to live, work, play and visit. He also talked about National Inclusion Week in his announcements and the action we can and should be taking. Hampshire needs to be a place for everyone. And for the men this affects, this motion and the action it calls for will make a real difference in achieving that. As I said before, this is a small change, but it will make a really big difference. And on that basis, I ask you to support it.
Thank you very much indeed, Councillor Todd. Councillor Groves, as seconder, do you wish to speak now or do you wish to reserve your right to speak until later?
To reserve the right until later. I've nothing to add at this stage.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The matter is now open for discussion. Right. Can we make a list? Councillor Drew first, right? Sorry, there are so many hands going up, it's difficult to know which hand's going first. Councillor Drew.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chairman. I just want, delighted that I won the draw on the first hand. But no, thank you very much for bringing this motion. I read through all 12 points. They make sense to me, particularly the evidence and the statistics. I know it's about people, but also I'm sure I'm not the only person over 60. I know it's a shock to many of you, but to see in my social media that the Facebook feeds advertising products. So clearly there is a need. The proposal is sensible, proportionate, and I'm completely supportive of it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Drew. I believe Councillor Burgess was next in the race with the hands up.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. As a result of a routine blood test last year, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Surgery followed, and then early this year, I had radiotherapy. And it does take some time for, shall we say, the front-end equipment to get back to normal. Therefore, I fully support Martin with this proposal. It is needed, and I fully support it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We won't go into further discussion on that, Leader. Thank you very much. I'm sure you could. Councillor Harvey, did you raise your hand?
Yes, I did,
Thank
Chairman.
you.
Just to say that my late husband used these products quite a lot, and all the time we had to carry something that we could put the used ones in, which was embarrassing for him. So I think this is really, really important.
you very much, Councillor Harvey. Councillor Henderson.
I'd just like to thank Councillor Todd for bringing this motion before us. Sometimes if something is difficult to talk about, it's very easy to sweep it to one side. 2 members of my family have recently been treated for prostate cancer, and I know how much of a difference your motion will make to the everyday life experiences of men. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Henderson. Councillor Porter.
Thank you. I was originally asked to second this, but decided actually we need to leave it to the men to do this time, which they said was very not normal of me, but there you are. It's really, I think it's really appropriate that we're doing this in a inclusion week. As Councillor Todd said, it is something that is relatively simple to change, but will make a huge impact. I have a family member who has an internal stoma and needs to cover quite a lot of equipment to carry out the basic daily functions that we all take for granted. And we travel with him in this country and abroad, and actually other countries sometimes do it better than we do ourselves. And if this was employed across this country, it would make a huge difference. So it would be great to see Hampshire being one of the counties that actually takes the lead. And I hope that you can all use your experiences to take this back to your own communities, your own village halls, your own local cafes, to make sure they understand that this is necessary right there too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Porter. Councillor Crawford.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As it happened, I had prostate cancer and had a radical prostatectomy about 4 years ago, and was tremendously supported by Prostate Cancer UK. I still wear their lapel badge now as a supporter, and I think this is a very worthwhile motion. I'm embarrassed on a daily basis, but you wouldn't guess that for the way I go ahead about things, but that is the fact that you have to cope with it every day and just get on with it. But I think this is an important initiative, and I'd like to congratulate Councillor Todd for getting Winchester City Council mentioned in the Prostate Cancer UK leaflet, for being an authority that has implemented this recommendation in their area. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any more points that people wish to make? I do know as chairman that my role is very much to be neutral and to be fair to all parties, but I do feel I should like to speak on this particular issue, because many of you will know that my deceased husband was paralysed from here down for many years before he died. And that meant he was doubly incontinent. So you will appreciate some of the difficulties that we had to live with and deal with, not only in the UK, but also when we went to Europe. I think this initiative is long overdue, and may I hope, I would like to see these facilities in all our country park toilet facilities as soon as is possible. And please take on board the point which has been made by another member in the House this morning, that we go out there and we spread the message amongst our own local communities. I've had my say. Please forgive me for speaking like this, but it is something which I feel very strongly about and which I do support. If there are no further comments to make, can I please draw your attention to the recommendation?
Chair, does the seconder come back?
I beg your pardon, I forgot this last time. The seconder, your opportunity to speak.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you everybody for the debate, because I think it's very important. I think we in jest said that we don't want to talk about it any further, and of course that is exactly what we do need to do. We need to talk about the issue of prostate cancer and the dangers of it and people who are affected by it, and also the other people who need this sort of facility. So it is very important, and I'd just like to say that and thank you all for your statements. I think it's very much appreciated by all men in the room. Of course, it's a men's issue, this particular one. Thank you.
Thank you. Leader, do you wish to make any comment? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Yes, I would very much like to thank Councillor Todd as well, and I can assure him I will be writing to all our MPs, make sure I encourage them to do so. What I will also do, I visit many businesses throughout, and I will take every opportunity to mention this to those businesses when I'm visiting as well, and indeed write to all those places that we have that we visit in terms of all around the county as well. So congratulations on that and bringing that forward. And also, Councillor Henderson said about, about not talking about these things. Well, you've achieved that today very openly as well, and you've heard some very personal stories as well. So well done on that. And lastly, a huge thank you to you for being the only member in the whole chamber that can remember somewhere nice to live, work and play. Well done, Councillor. Hands up.
I think touche is the expression there. Councillor Dowden, did you wish to speak?
Yes, I did, Madam Chairman. Could I ask the leader, because what he's just said is very important, but could he also not just write to the MPs, but write to all the districts? I know we're councillors, some of us, but not all people are.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, I would certainly do that as well. Yes, absolutely.
Thank you, Councillor Humby, for responding to that. Councillor Todd, did you wish to make a final statement?
No, I would just like to thank everybody for the support that we've received, and particularly those who've talked about their own personal experience. I think that is one of the things I hope to achieve with this debate, which is these are issues that have a great effect on people, but aren't talked about, and I really appreciate the people in particular who've talked about their personal experience and how meaningful this motion is to them. And I look forward to the Council's unanimous support for it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Todd. Right, members, can I now ask you to look at the recommendations, which are on page 47. There are, I think there's, and I'm not sure if it's on page 47 or not. Sorry, on page 97. I beg your pardon, they're on pages 97. There are, in fact, 4 recommendations. I really don't wish to read them all out, but I will do so if you so wish. But you've all had the opportunity. I'm glad you're all shaking your head. That's really pleased me considerably. So can we take all 4 recommendations as having been agreed by this council? Agreed. Thank you very much indeed. We get on to part 2, which are matters for information. And under 12A, it's the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Fire Service, or Fire and Rescue Authorities. We have not received any questions in regard to that particular heading, so there will be no responses required. And 12B, we have not received a report. I believe that I'm correct in saying that. Councillor Vaughan, did you want to confirm that?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. That is confirmed.
Thank you. Members, so there is no report, there are no questions, so that concludes the meeting for today. So thank you all for attending and for making it so succinct. I think we can now discontinue the webcast.